actually the Baseball Association brought that up to us as we were planning it. And the base paths are all there to be able to move if we need to do that.
Knowing the National Guard is coming again this summer, do we understand what we're having them work on?
That is correct.
And what do we have in terms of fundraising monies right now available to that project?
I think the biggest thing we're looking at is so much earthwork right
Yeah.
now. So we already have the seed bought, black
For all
earth
areas.
bought. We're looking at the back. When you look at the complex here, let me
Well,
show you just a.
Yeah,
When you look at the picture of the complex, Matt, one of the things that we're looking at is back here.
Yeah.
So back there has a lot of work that needs to be done, so we're gonna try to take advantage of that horizontal groove from the guards, be able to get that, because we do have the seed ready for that.
So that's natural grass.
Yeah, that's all natural grass, and then to clean up and to work on this area as well, and to work on this area as well. So we knew that we have a year here where we're, another year where we're gonna have to work on fundraising for what we wanna do. This is a boys baseball here. So we knew that this year with the guard equipment that we have coming in, one of the things we were hoping that the guard has not told us yet if they have vertical crews, because we would look at, is it possible to think about a shed or a concession stand or something in that area, but we don't know what kind of a cruise. We know we've got an estimate idea about how much that would cost for all of the groups to start fundraising, but we don't know what kind of crew we have coming.
Sure. What is our current fundraising balance? Do you know that?
It's about 17,800, and then that'll be 17,800, and then we have the scoreboard that we need to pay for and the installation.
Okay.
But to answer your question, Matt, I did a meeting with the guard earlier in the year, and actually we're gonna be scheduling one more to just solidify a few things. But one concern that has come up from the public, if you drive by, you can see all the water's laying in that section of the field. Our goal really is to get that pad, the second pad prepped, and get our drainage back, because that drainage has to go all the way back to the west. Because we did file our plan with the DNR for our site drainage, and that we need to continue that. And also, there's some ponds that are going to be dug or finished being dug and pipes laid in there because of the fact we do receive all the water from across the highway. So there's actually big tunnels underneath the road here. And the biggest concern that the surveyors really have, this whole plan, is that, it's not so much an issue of rain in summertime. It's really heavy rain you'd have in spring like now where the ground will be froze. That water has to be able to be moved, and that water does transfer down our property lines to the ponds, and it goes out to the back. So that's a plan I need to get solidified this year. That's our big goal, so we can handle the drainage water. Be good neighbors to everybody is our big goal.
Are there any other questions? If not, we'll move on to item C, referendum April 2017 update.
Now, Keith, I bet you there's a lot more fun than sitting here for 2 hours, right?
That's all right, I've learned a
I'm
lot.
really sorry, we should have probably moved
Oh, that's
you up.
okay. I don't have any charts, graphs, or reformation plans, so we're good. First of all, just thank you for letting us put this together. It's actually been kind of a fun project. And the angle that we took, and with talking to, teachers, parents, students, everybody talks about the Mosinee pride. So with this video, there's a lot of positives in it, and because I do think, Mosinee is really proud of what they have. And as the video kind of progresses, we do show some of the kind of ugly things, but there again, we wanted to keep it positive, and I think I'll let you see it for yourself, and you can ask questions when we're done.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to be. It's a very safe place. The schools are excellent. Your kids are going to receive a great education. Employers get a lot of benefits because they get great employees.
I think what it offers is just a beautiful window to Wisconsin. from our rivers and our lakes to just all of the different activities that we have going on in the central Wisconsin area. Mosinee is just a perfect location for a family to locate and to certainly bring their children to be a part of our schools.
People come to live here because it's a great community. They can be involved in not only our city, but our school district. Our school district's got great programs.
The quality of education is so important. Our young people are our best resource. And if you look at the landscape of education, how it's changing, how things are morphing into other avenues that really were never anticipated 5 to 10 years ago. So to not provide them with the quality and opportunities that other students are seeing around the state and the country, or for that matter, the world, we need to be on the cutting edge. And to not provide that for our students, in my opinion, would be a real disservice. We need to keep our community strong at all levels. And to do that, you need a good base. And our base walks through this every year as they graduate. And they enter our work cycle, and they enter our communities, and they're our neighbors. So we want a quality situation for our kids to come through. It is our duty and a responsibility of the community to make that happen.
You own the schools. They are the public schools of Mosinee. They belong to you, and as stewards of our facilities, I think it's really important to take pride in what we have. And anybody who has toured our facilities over the last year and a half are shocked to find that they haven't changed a whole lot. The cost of educating children has risen, and there just is not enough money in the annual budget to be able to do the big maintenance needs that a facility this size has. So I want the community to come in to see that way back, in the 60s when my father taught here, it literally hasn't changed. It hasn't changed that much. And our students today just deserve to have a facility that is up to code and adequate for their learning needs.
We have found in this room, of course, the ability to leave this room in case of a fire. You need to have multiple exits to get safe passage out of this area, which we do not have. Another concern we have in this room as well is that we have asbestos flooring. And we also have the creation of our brick, that's a multi-layer brick, because we are below grade here, so we have water that seeps in from the walls and also from our roof as well. As they went through our facilities and looked at our study, they really recommended that the 1922 section of our building should be removed for multiple reasons, from structure-wise to mechanical-wise. There's a plethora of issues that we have in this area, and they're just to retrofit that it's not cost-effective to do so.
I feel like on a daily basis, we are literally, fingers crossed, operating. So at any point, our heating and cooling could go down to a point that we cannot fix it. We could not fix some of the code issues that we have for occupancy here in this building. I think we've been very fortunate to have a staff that's been able to fix this, but on any given day, that could change.
In this space, in the auditorium itself, the upholstery needs to be dealt with. In many of the seats, there are rips and tears, and some of the seats are taped. Sometimes we have to take chairs out, which honestly is an eyesore, and if people are coming in and we're trying to put on our best face as the school district of Mosinee, and they come into a place where things are broken and tattered and ripped, I don't think that's a good representation of who we are and who we want to be. When we are building scenery, there's no place to store the scenery and the set pieces that we are building because there are things that the school itself needs to store, and the biggest space is to store it in what we call the workroom, off the auditorium. And so we shove all of that out into the hallway, which becomes a fire hazard. It becomes a hazard for students walking. If we're worrying about issues that have to do with facilities, and that takes our focus away from what the focus should be. Honestly, I see a possibility of there being less programs offered because there aren't the facilities to do performances or athletics. I mean, I think everything could be affected in some manner by the referendum not passing.
These machines here are from the 1950-60 era. They're not featured with the newest and best safety equipment, so that raises a hazard. They're not as accurate as they need to be for what we're trying to accomplish. What don't we have that we've never had that we should have. We need an iron worker. It's a large piece. Obviously, we're already too small, so the referendum being passed and expanding this would open up the door for that one piece of equipment, and it literally will transform what these guys are doing right now. Mosinee Manufacturing would be transformed overnight.
The biggest challenges with this space is having students separate so we can have an academic lesson going on, while at the same time you can have behavior de-escalation or some sensory dieting going on where they can get out their frustrations or get out their needs that they need with their bodies. The hardest thing is to getting students around the really tight quarters, and at the same time we're so close to the regular ed students that they'll get distracted every now and then. We have different levels of special education here. We have some higher functioning students, some lower functioning students, and it's really nice to have a co-teacher with you, and the new space will allow my co-teacher and I to be working together. You can have the lower ones coming in here for instruction with me, you can have some higher ones going by her for instruction with her, and at the same time they'll have that option of a sensory room where they can come and take a break once the academics aren't happening.
I think the biggest challenges are essentially our fall, winter, spring demands for indoor use. There's a misconception that space is only used for winter sports, but we have demands in the fall, we have demands in the spring, so there's constantly demands from our school sports, from our youth sports, almost all year round to get inside of our gyms. So that's the biggest challenge, is juggling all those pieces, trying to appease all the demands that we have, and getting really creative with what we have. Because obviously we have a lot of youth sports participation, so we run into issues where certain programs really have to scale back what they want to do for practices, maybe once a week when they would rather probably benefit from 2 or 3, but their other option is going at 8 p.m., which isn't realistic for a 4th, 5th, 6th grader to practice. We're using the Tetzloff Center for some practices, but there's an associated fee with that. So we're really trying to meet our increased demands, but it's very difficult with kind of the fixed resources that we do have. The new design is very intuitive. It's very simple in the sense of you walk in, you walk right into the events. The entrances are a lot more convenient for those that would come to the building. As of now, there's the front entrance with really no parking. There's the back entrance that people don't really know where they are. So there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of confused looks in the halls during events.
To have a secured entryway, to have people check in, know who you are, what is your business here? That's very important.
This isn't just a place for students. This is a place for community. We have community theater here. People use the library. We have yoga classes. The amount of people that use this building and the assets that this building brings to the community is overwhelming. What a school brings to the community is a center, a hub where people can do things. And I see that if we don't make these improvements, we're going to start losing our hub.
Please visit our website, moveaheadmosinee.com. And on that website, we have a tax calculating estimator. You can put your value of your property in, and it will give you an estimated cost of the project. Based on $100,000 home for the combined project would be $196 per year.
Then one thing too, we thought we could do this in like a 3 or 4 minute video, and there was so much. But we are breaking it into, we're going to have 2 or 3 smaller videos that we'll introduce like every week, leading up to it. I know we want to get this information out now, but I think, that 2 weeks before is really the important time, because if we, give them everything right now, I think it'll kind of go, might be lost a little bit. But and there are some other, visuals that we may add into some of those other shots. We've been trying to get drones up for a couple weeks, but the weather has not cooperated, because we wanted to kind of show what it currently looks like, and we could kind of overlay those. And the last couple days it's been nice, but of course we were almost done with this.
Yeah.
So, but if anybody has any comments, suggestions, things can still be tweaked a little bit, but. We'll get this out as much as possible, start sharing it, get it on websites, and, Facebook. And so if anybody has any questions, just...
I thought you were putting Tom Cruise's face on me.
That was! We did.
Didn't look like it. Videos that are occurring, Brady?
Yeah, so really the focus, like Keith said, is on the large scale video, which you saw here, and then splitting it up into some smaller segments, really focusing on 3 areas: classroom renovations, the maintenance needs, and the gym space as kind of the 3 smaller buckets. I think that's been pretty common in other successful referendums around the state, which would break those topics down into really small bite-sized minute, 2-minute, here's the snapshot of this particular issue. And like you said, really our goal would be to sprinkle those things on over the next couple weeks, so it's not, a month before everything comes out and then it kind of falls off people's radar.
And I think too, in some of the past ones, just as, you guys are kind of maybe a little closer to it, but I feel like residents maybe have, thought they were maybe forced into it, or it was kind of, just put upon them, where this one, I'm hoping that this uses the sizzle of, how cool Mosinee is, and that they want to continue that rather than, trying to force something down their throat and, say how bad everything is here. So, I just want to think that Mosinee's a little, a little more patriotic and a little more loyal than that, so that's our strategy.
Thank you. Thoughts?
Yeah, one comment. Being a parent with 3 kids in the district, really understand the importance of education right now, and some of the differentiators other districts have really focused on STEM. And I didn't see much in here on our science classrooms in the high school, which are a big issue.
Yep.
A lot on sports again. I think sports hurt us last time by bucketizing it all into one large number. Obviously we decoupled that this time, but my concern would still be not enough on the academic side. We saw the fitness facility in quite detail. We saw drama and choir, which was good. We saw the shop, which is very important, and then we saw the gyms, but really would have liked to seen some on the science rooms.
I mean, there was a shot of the lab in there.
But it didn't go into explanation of what it was. It just looked ugly.
Right. I mean, and a lot of it too, it's like there are a lot of ugly visuals, but to tell a story and even in 9 minutes,
yeah,
it was a
We
little
could do a
tough.
separate one just on the Fab Lab, Brady, and
I would
we
do
could
it
on
our STEM
some of the
resources
science
or
stuff.
something. As one of the
Smaller ones.
yeah.
Interview the science teachers.
Yeah, that would be
Go
great.
through
If
that.
you the science teacher, this is what will happen to my classroom.
Yeah.
I think that would
I
be
mean, I was
fantastic.
shocked at those labs that, those are bad.
also.
Is all the filming, is all the filming concluded now at this point, and you have stuff you're working with Brady or things?
We can come back and, we have a lot of B-roll. We have probably almost 8 hours worth of video that, we shot a lot of, but it was just hard to
I mean, I guess
sift through it.
some of my thoughts there, I mean, from a content standpoint, I thought you hit on some things. I'm not adamantly opposed to the sports component of it. However, I think one of the things that was missing there is, what do our kids think of this school? Because I gotta tell you, you can ask any high school, you wanna show a picture of a locker room and a shower that looks like crap, ask the kid what it's like to take a shower in there, and they're gonna tell you. And ask the kids, what is it like to be in a classroom that is falling apart? And then another component that I think is lost and is a key component of our referendum is simply the safety of these facilities for our kids. So the security measures, the cameras, the things that would go in, and additionally the entrance, egress, and exit of it, and how we're going to secure those doors, and how, I mean, I think that the fact of the matter is any of us can walk into the school at any point in time and walk wherever we want, and there's a chance someone's going to say, who are you and why are you here? But those are all things that are addressed in the referendum. And I really think as you watch the news in Stevens Point cluster that occurred this last week, having been responsible for some of those clusters, I can tell you it's a terrifying experience for those people that have loved ones there. And I'm not suggesting we use that to pass a referendum, but it was on the news, everybody's talking about it, everyone's seeing it, and they're wondering, how would that be handled in Mosinee? And we had kids running out of the school down the road and you had other kids sheltering in place. And I think that's a factor that we need to address with the community, that we are not up to standards here for the safety of our facilities.
Just suggestions though. Good video, Keith.
Well, I'll take that back, and, you know, in some of those smaller videos that, you know, especially the safety one, that was our camera guy just like walked in there and,
Yep.
you know, I mean, they knew we were doing that, but, you know, he could have just started walking through the school or,
I'm not opposed to sports. I just, when I look at the survey from the community, there was definitely an element of too much sports in the last one. So I just want to make sure we bring good balance to that.
all right.
Thanks, Keith.
Yep, thank you.
Any more discussion?
So we meet every Wednesday morning, and we just talk about, you know, what's going out this week, what else could we be doing? We work on videos, we just work on communication, every Wednesday morning. I do need your help with the referendum meetings. Our first, community meeting is tomorrow. I know that 2 of you are gonna join us, Kevin and Matt are gonna join us, so we appreciate that.
I'll plan to be there as well.
You're there?
One question I have is it an issue if too many board members show up?
That's why we called all of you, to ask you.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so right now,
Jamie,
Jamie called everybody. We have 3 right
targeting 3?
Only 3.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Freeze
Yeah.
good.
yeah, okay.
So that's why she's called and asked, and we just kind of, yeah, that's why we wanted to know that. But there's a lot of things going on. Very specifically, we have a March elementary thing that we need. So there's lots of tables. And then we've been heading out to these town meetings. And if you represent that town, go ahead and take a look and see if you could go out and present with whoever. And just because somebody is there, does not mean you can't jump in there. So, you know, tonight, we had basketball things going on. Clearly, we're all here, couldn't be at the, any update on that?
They won.
They won, awesome,
43?
awesome. So we have regionals going on at the high school. Tomorrow, we have that informational thing going on. There's just a lot of events. This Saturday, we've got hockey going on. If you'd like to join in any of those, please just put your name in there. You know, we're getting to a crunch time here where we don't have a lot of time. We had a conversation, well, if this doesn't go, I hope next time, you know what, we got 30 days here, guys. We really need to get out in the community. And if you think, like Darlene has stepped up here and said, you know what, a really good place to be is at the Pig. So, they're gonna get sick of you.
But it
You
is
hit a
good.
lot of people,
A lot of
right?
people. I'll hand out, last Sunday, or was it Sunday before, I handed out 176 flyers in 2 hours, from 11 till 1.
So just a lot of good questions. You're just, no one's throwing eggs at you or,
No.
no.
And it's busy, I'm
Really
really busy.
non-threatening.
No, Mary Zimmerman came into the store, and she couldn't even hardly get through my hallway, because I had so many people around me, and she snuck past me, actually.
So you don't have to be afraid to go alone. If you think that you could go on a date, give Darlene a call. And it really is a great push during this time, so we need as much help as we can. Just, honestly, just to get the biggest thing is just get information out there, get people informed. Okay? That's a bit about the biggest thing. And that's what I've got. Tomorrow night's our first kickoff, so tell people to come. Okay.
There are no more questions, we'll move on to item 9D. Discussion and possible decision approval of the change to the 2017-18 school district calendar, student calendar, and staff calendar.
We apologize for having to bring this back, but we messed up a day. So you will see that Easter is not April 13th of 2018. We had a day off. That was just wrong. It just was an error. So that April 13th date was moved to the Wednesday off. So we're just looking for approval.
I'll make the motion to approve the district calendar for 2017.
We have a motion on the floor by Kelly Zebra and a second by Carol Crown to change the calendar date of 27/18.
But wait, you forgot to change it.
I was gonna say you didn't do the 8.
Got the,
You got 2 8s in June.
again, still?
Yes.
Yes, all right, I'll fix it.
June 8/8.
Do we have to bring it
I
back
guess-
for that again?
No, it's a
Okay.
typo. I swear to
I'm like,
God.
oh my God.
What happens when you can't have I'm gonna take that
Looks like
note.
you added a, is that the parent teacher conference is doing the 22nd?
No, nothing, the only thing that was changed was that Easter is not on the 13th.
I didn't even change the 8/8.
I didn't even change the 8/8.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 10, new business, discussion and possible decision, approval of the CISA 9 shared service contract.
So this is just pretty straightforward. Every year we take a look at the shared services agreement with CISA 9. We evaluate whether or not we used what we paid for and whether or not it continues to be necessary. The only thing that is coming off is the instructional material service. So we would look for approval of that.
I'll make the motion to approve the CISA 9 contract for the 2000, this would be
17, 18.
We have a motion on the floor by Kelly Zebra and a second by Mark Lewis. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
You saw in your board packet an update on the Q2 compensation teacher meeting that we had. We went through a number of things there. The biggest thing that we're bringing forward to you from that team would be a proposal for next school year to change the stipends. Again, a stipend is received only for that group that is at that level. They receive just a stipend, they don't go up in pay. And you may receive a stipend if you're sitting at that level and don't have enough points to move up. Again, you have to have a positive evaluation. That stipend was at $650, and we're recommending that that stipend be moved to $900 at the levels 2, 3, 4, 5, and that level 6 and grandfather, that stipend be moved up to 1,000. Again, it was at $650.
The basis for the increase?
It's aligns with the consumer price index. Otherwise, they would be below what 1.26 is what the July 2017. So I think it ends up being a 1.4 or something like that. But we were kind of splitting hairs when we were getting into the $921 would be the correct percentage. So that's where the basis was coming from.
What's that CPI adjustment based off of those? Because the compensation changes at each level.
Right, it's just so that that person that's sitting in that level, and again, we don't have a lot of people that receive stipends because most people move. But when they're sitting in that level, then they would actually at $650 be below the CPI rate. So that was the reason for bringing it forward. Is we take a look, we project forward on what that CPI rate is projected for this next school year.
Okay, so what if we applied the CPI rate to the compensation level instead of just a round number each year?
Well, we have a model that the board has approved. You
Yeah,
could
and we're
completely get
requesting
rid
a
of.
change, so we could change that model tonight too to say, so for instance, level 4, what I'm looking at, compensation for level 4 is $60,200. It would be CPI times $60,200 would be the stipend.
That's a big change, Matt, that's a big change to our entire compensation model. So,
This is a big change though too.
well,
Going
this
from
goes
600 to 1,000.
But she's saying not many people
correct.
stay there.
Matt, it's usually our people up, the veteran teachers who sit at the 71,000 and do not move.
Yeah.
Those are the people that earn the stipend, and that's the only amount of increase that they get for an increase for the school year.
Wouldn't the CPI be more relative to what that stipend should be? CPI multiplied by their current compensation as compared to just a flat dollar amount? Because what if CPI were suddenly to move to 3%? Then are we going to come back and say, well, now we're going to move the stipend to $2,100, and are we going to keep moving it every year? Or do we just create policy that's a change to the mechanism today that says your stipend will amount to CPI times that salary level you're at?
I think we wanted to always bring forward what we felt would fit within our budget, so.
People are talking, roughly.
I would say there's probably 12. And not everybody at the top will, they don't do a professional development. Some people don't. They just choose not to. They're busy in their daily lives that they choose not to do it. Last year we paid out 16,000 in stipends.
So we're in year 3 of our teacher, this is our 3rd year of our new model. I think we do see a lot of really positive things happening. Paul's a part of our committee.
And if I could speak, we did have a long lengthy discussion, and Matt, we did talk about that, about are we gonna have to change this every year? This is, for some reason, the CPI was high this year, which it normally isn't. Because when we came up with a 650, that was kind of figuring an average CPI increase.
The 650 came from the CPI.
An average in CPI increase.
Yep.
So why not
We've
use
done it for a number of
CPI?
years.
And it just it stands there, Mr. Novinsky, and you just say, okay, every year that stipend's going to be based on CPI multiplied by your salary as identified to the compensation level you're at. Wouldn't that make more sense? Because then everyone knows going in.
No, because the CPI is very different, and that's
And
what
it's
we worked on.
calculated at different
Yeah,
times
and
too.
it's calculated at different times, and that's why we worked so hard on this model, to be able to say, this is it, this is what you're gonna get. So, you know, if the board is opposed going from the 650 to the 1,000 for those people, I guess we can further discuss that, but to make major changes to our entire model tonight, that's not at all what this committee is recommending or asking for.
I'm not understanding this as being a major change. Please explain to me, how is this a major change? To me, it's a simplification. Because every year we look at CPI in terms of what do we do to, for merit increases.
Well, I guess we've had what do we do? It's in the model what we do. It's exactly in the model what we do. That's what we do. You move up within the model each time. That's what we do.
Right.
We don't base it on anything
And you still do.
else.
The move, it doesn't change anything to the compensation. Pull up the schedule. So what I'm saying is, it does nothing to change the compensation levels in the 3rd column. All it does is it uses, in the case of 4C, 60,200, or let's do 5C, 65,600, instead of trying to identify what the stipend should be, you use CPI to identify it. So you take CPI times 65,600, that's your stipend.
And the reason, Matt,
And then you're not always chasing
I
it.
totally agree with you, but sometimes, and there was, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 years ago, the CPI was like 0.23. So somebody's increase was like $41.
I remember that.
And so some people felt that was a slap in the face, and that's kind of why we went with what we called an average CPI. I get where you're coming from, totally get, and that's sort of the committee, but we felt it was really, how do you offer somebody a $43 raise for the year as a stipend?
Well, I think if you look at that, if you want the benefits from a high CPI, you also have to taste the sting from a low piece of CPI if that's what you're using as your basis to justify the stipend.
Well, I would say, I mean, a lot went into the stipend, a lot went into that discussion. I would feel better if we went back to that committee if the board has a problem with it. I mean, this committee has been meeting for 2.5 years. So,
Well, the real factor with CPI is oil has a lot to do with this. Gas prices have a lot to do with it. And I think we looked at it long and hard, and we just thought it would be fair to, from a budgeting standpoint, even from Brent, it's nice for Brent to know what he's gonna be paying out every year, correct, Brent?
Well, I'm still learning the compensation model, quite honestly. I guess, you know, the intent here is to take care of the people that are taking care of our kids. That's the intent here. And as long as we don't lose focus of that, you know, I'm understanding the different variables, and you're looking for the CPI to be the variable cost that contributes to the actual number. I think it's really what you're identifying, and I can understand that, and I can understand that sometimes there is peaks and valleys to that, and you want to temper that a little bit. But, how do we move forward?
We're in discussion, they're looking for a motion.
a motion to approve the changes to Appendix F as presented. And if the board wants to do something different or send it back to that committee, the committee meets quarterly.
I have a question. Okay, it says, I'm just looking on 5C there, and it says it goes up $1,200 a year on the compensation. If you start raising that stipend, it's gonna be more than,
No, we don't raise anything but that stipend, Carolyn, and that's just for people that sit there who don't move up. So who don't get the amount of points that they need to move up on their compensation model, so. You know, really, you're talking about these people, cause they sit there. They don't go
well,
up.
if you keep raising that, there's no
Right.
reason for them to move up.
But
They can't move on.
may I interject?
Sure.
The concern at the top would be, I think, for example, someone this year who was making, after this, let's say $71,000 and $1,000 stipend, if we tie that to the CPI, then understand as the CPI drops, their salary will go down, because it's not a yearly stipend that's added on top of the previous stipend. So their salary will go from $71,000 plus a $1,000 stipend to $71,000 plus potentially a $400 stipend. So folks, and the majority of our people receiving the stipend are at the top end of the salary schedule.
Yeah,
So those are the salaries where,
So the CPI
depending on the
this year-
stipend, they would either break even, maybe go ahead a little bit, because I can't imagine CPI going up dramatically, or their salaries would actually be decreased. And just so we're clear, that's how this would play out in the long run. Because it's not an annual stipend, as in it accumulates, it's just basically a top salary.
This would have been $894 if we had
Right.
used CPI.
My struggle with it is we're using CPI as the
Sure.
justification to raise the stipend. And so I'm fine with that model being used to determine what the stipend is, but what happens when the CPI is lower? Just like you said, if you're gonna use that CPI to determine what the stipend should be, it's gonna be a moving target. And so we're
Right.
talking about raising it in a high year, but we're not talking about lowering it in a lower year.
Well, I think every single year you're gonna talk about it. If we had gone 1.26, we would, instead of $1,000, that number would have been $894 in some sense. So,
So you're saying you think every year this is gonna be brought to
well,
us?
I think that's why we meet 4 times a year, to talk about this, to be able to retain staff, to be able to keep staff, to want staff to be here and to see their path forward. Absolutely, that's why we do it. That's why we put so much time and effort into the evaluations of staff, because they have to have a positive evaluation or to move. So, I mean, that's why the whole model is built. That's where we're at. So if instead of the $1,000, the board wants to recommend $894, or what, it really doesn't matter, but I would say if it's not, then I would send it back to that committee. I think the committee at least deserves an opportunity to either come forward to the board if the board has a concern about that, or.
I don't know if this is pertinent, but I mean, when you talk about CPI, your average annual CPI is 3.22. over the last 20 years. And so you start thinking about that, do you really want to lock into CPI would be my
That's why
question.
we didn't want to.
So when you look at it, we talked about the bite on the low end, the bite on the high end from a school district standpoint is there's more odds that it's gonna go up than 1.26 is historically a low consumer price index.
So it does this year, next year comes back again?
Yeah.
But it stays at $71,000.
Correct.
And they get the
We're
one
not
time
looking to
stipend.
change that at all, yep.
I'll make the motion to accept the stipend for the 2017-18 school year.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor by Kelly Zubro and a second by Mark Lewis. We will have a roll call vote on this.
You want to go ahead?
Yes. Gorman? No.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Kramer,
No.
Theo,
Abstain.
Zebro,
Yes.
Alice,
No,
Barnes,
No.
Hewis.
Yes.
We have 4 no, 3 yes, and 1 abstention.
Motion fails.
I'll make the motion, take it back to the compensation committee. Let's talk about this more, let's look at some history, I just wanna see a better basis. Right now, we're moving all, the stipend in all categories, if it's really just on the highest level, level 6, maybe we consider doing something there, but not everywhere else, so. Long motion, but
I think I have it.
I'll second that.
And I think something that caught me that influenced my no vote there is, I'm totally with you. Things to be done to encourage retention of employees, to encourage people to be motivated and excited about being here in the district. I think that there's a lot more to that conversation than just the stipend. And I would love to have a more robust conversation about that to include stipend and compensation for individuals. So, although I was a no, I think there's a lot of creative things we can do to include this, and I'd like to see it be more of a conversation about all those issues.
Would the board members like to join that committee then?
if available, I'd be happy to sit in. I did sit on the original committee that put it together, so I'd be happy to.
I'd be interested as well.
You haven't, or you don't know that you can
Okay.
be a part of that?
So I want to conflict of interest
But,
here.
yeah.
Clearly identified.
Clearly identified. We do have a March.
March 23rd.
23rd at
March
1:15
23rd is our meeting from,
PM, 1:15 to,
At 1:15, 3:15.
That's not spring break week, is it?
It's before, week before spring break.
Or Friday
Thursday.
Thursday.
afternoon?
Do you want me to bring you a sub sandwich?
I may be out of town.
That's what he's saying, he's not gonna be around.
1:15, 3:20.
Carolyn.
I'll send you a.
Thanks.
Good.
Yeah. Mike has to leave. I'll take over the meeting. We do have a motion and a second on item B, just bringing it back to the board, taking it back to the compensation committee, and then bringing additional options back to the board. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So we'll look forward to that at next month's meeting. Item number 11 is the Curriculum and Standards Committee meeting report. Mr. Lynn?
We met, we have an extended field trip request coming up on your agenda next as an action item. Lori Notsky, one of our high school science teachers, wants to travel with another high school science teacher, and they're anticipating 15 to 20 students to Iceland in 2018. She's a planner, so we're well in advance of the 60-day board policy that we have in this world, we're a year out. Lori's also taking our students to Costa Rica over spring break, so if you hear any any rumblings about the Costa Rica trip, the kids are pretty excited to be taking off in a few weeks. I did an update on technology integration and course offerings. Brady did a presentation to the committee, highlighted a lot of the things that you've seen already at the board level leading up to our Chromebook rollout, Chromebook repairs courses, and some of those activities that we've been moving forward with technology, including how the plans are coming to find out where we can put a fab lab and what would be incorporated with that. And the last thing we talked about was our dual credit advanced placement courses, kind of circling around to where Nate started tonight with the high school presentation. The things we can do to offer our students opportunities. When we talk about college and career readiness, I don't know if there's a better way to find out as a student if you're prepared for college and career readiness than to take a course that you would take in your preparation in college or for your career. So a lot of our alignment we've done has been adding our advanced placement courses and aligning those to the dual credit requirements at NTC. So now rather than, for example, in AP Physics, our students coming in, taking a test for 3 hours and then finding out whether they get the credit or not based on that test. Now that we've aligned calculus as one example with NTC's calculus course, that's accepted by every UW school. As long as our students pass our calculus class, they pass NTC's calculus class, they get calculus credit every University of Wisconsin system school. So going in part to the question you asked about our students taking the test, we're really trying to allow our students to show that they know math every day, instead of just from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock on May 8th for the AP Calc exam. Save parents and kids some money and have that engagement, so.
3 credit class?
Actually, in college, it's a 4 credit calculus
4
class.
credit, wow.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. We've done that with several of our dual credit, with several of our math courses. They've been real easy to align. We're doing the same thing with AP Language and Literature next year, so that'll also align to the communications class in NTC with transfers to UW system school. So, the less we can reduce the stress of the one test day and make it an everyday thing, the easier I think it is for our kids and the better it is for our district. So.
I will make the motion to approve the extended field trip request for the high school social studies to travel to Iceland.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item number 12, the building committee meeting report. Corey's not here. Diane, you have the floor.
Diane, can I interject with you just a second? Because we have a hot off the press school board election results.
Oh,
from
boy.
CBA.
Oh, there you
So
go.
the top 3 vote getters are on our ballot. Marky Wiss with 362 votes is our top vote getter. Our second, Matt Marks with 274 votes.
You smoked me, Mark.
And our third top vote getter is Nancy Stefanik with 268 votes. So we have Nancy, Matt, and Mark.
I never seen the board.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Dave's moving.
All right.
Okay, sorry, Diane.
That's all right. The first item that we just did a report on was the maintenance and housekeeping staff, the breakdown of work time. Basically where we need to be, and if people need to get moved around, it will move or take place as needed. The second item we did discuss was the approval of the preliminary cost estimate for the possible summer construction project. Looking at the priority list of $286,597, which I will make the motion to approve.
I'll second it.
But,
I think everybody should know that those items on that list.
Yes, I did ask if any of the items on this list were currently in our referendum, and they are not. So this is something that, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item, which I will make the motion, is the approval of the clock project. Currently, those are over 20 years old, and the base 1 bid of the 3 bids that I will make the motion for to approve is $72,555 for the 2017-18 budget. And I still. That's a precast.
The walls and the crest pieces.
All of these.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That would qualify as like regular maintenance that we have to do every 20 years.
we're at
for that
20
type of
years.
construction.
It's fortunate to have 20 years.
Right. So I'll make that motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second by Kevin, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the last was just an update, we did an air quality testing in the 22-29 section, and that was done by North Star Environmental, and we should see the results by next month. Steve?
School teacher, 33 years with the district, Mrs. Clark. And then our director of instruction, Mr. Lind. Mr. Lind, how many years?
34.
34 years. So, two of my high school teachers. I'm starting to feel old here. I make the motion that we approve all 4 of those retirements together. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We wish them all well in retirement. We hope to see them around the school. Visiting. Item number E is discussion and possible decision, approval of a high school special education multi-categorical teacher resignation. Miss Grams gave notice a couple weeks ago. Her last day was last week, Thursday, so we accepted her resignation. So I'll make a motion, we accept that resignation. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F is approval of an increased Spanish teacher at the high school for the 2017-18 school year. Right now, we currently have 6 sections of Spanish in the high school, and we have 1.5 teachers teaching that subject. 2017-18 school year, because of the high numbers in the sections, we need to add another 3 sections and raising that to 9. So the individual who was a .5 is going to become a full teacher, and our committee agreed to doing this. I'll make the motion that we approve this increase to a 1.0 Spanish teacher for the 2017-18 school year.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries as well. Item G was discussion and possible decision on the reclassification of a technology secretary to an IT support technician 1. In our board packet, talked a little bit about this position. We also had some further conversation in our committee meeting about this IT support technician 1 that is currently, or an IT support technician that supports the elementary school, supports the middle school, and really this secretary position is acting in this role at the high school. We thought it was the right decision to approve this reclassification, so I'll make the motion that we do so.
What's the fiscal impact?
About $6,000, $6,800.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries as well. Lastly, we have a approval of a head varsity cross-country coach hire. Mr. Jason Bond, who is a very accomplished runner and snowshoe competitor, has been selected for that position. We as a committee approved it. I'll make the motion that we approve it as a full board.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries as well. We did not have any additional resignations, retirees, or hires. And we had one update on extracurricular hires. John Sandelsky was hired as the middle school head girls track coach. Does not need board approval as it is not a varsity sport. That'll conclude the personnel committee meeting, unless there's any questions. And then we'll move on to the finance committee meeting. Finance committee chair, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Earlier this evening, we met, and I'd like to make a motion that we approve the monthly voucher list, run through all the items we thought were explained to us, and looking for.
Oh, I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Lewis,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Kaiser's gone. Kramer,
Yes.
Theo,
Yes.
Zebro,
Yes.
Alice?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
All yes.
Second item is discussion of possible recommendation is approval of the monthly treasurer's report. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the monthly treasurer's report as stated.
I'll say.
Roll call please, Jane.
Sebro?
Yes.
Alice?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gorman?
Yes.
Kramer?
Yes.
Steele?
Yep.
All yes.
Item C, discussion possible recommendation acceptance of the audit report which everybody has received. I'd like to make a motion that we to approve the acceptance or the acceptance of the audit report.
I'll say.
Like to step roll call?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D was just the high school bleacher repair, just a report that was given. And it's just to show what we've done or the expenses that we've had for the last 5 years as compared to putting new bleachers in. So it's just something just to think about for right now.
Thanks, Carolyn. Moving on to item 15, other reports, the WASB report, correspondence, and upcoming meetings.
Yes, I have been nominated to present this to Mark Lewis. He is now at a WASB level 4. So that is from going to so many meetings and you get points. So my suggestion to him, you could now be the WASB representative. I could gladly do
There you go, Mark.
There you go, all right.
Next stop, WASB Hall of Fame.
Yes, it could be. And with that, it's a great accomplishment. Also, we do have the Legal and Human Resource Conference, 23rd of February at Dallas. And then we do have March 15th, the meeting at the Capitol. It's kind of interesting. That's all I have, and I know Ann's got the other stuff.
Yep, it's just all linked in there.
There, yep, thank you, yep, that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Item 15B, CISA 9, correspondence and reports for monthly meeting. I believe that's usually Cory.
Yep,
Any-
good stuff.
Yeah,
Nothing really. I mean, it's all in there.
Okay, moving on to item number 16, future agenda items. Anyone have anything tonight they would like to have added to next month?
Before I go, I think it's gotten better from when we were working, he's ready to plan there, that they could do something that's nice to get out.
You talking high school?
I brought it up.
Yeah. Well, it completely changes with the referendum. So, but you're right, if the referendum doesn't, we'll start to work on a plan B. Yeah, it changes pretty dramatically with the referendum, but
Can we get a couple questions, guys, if you retired?
yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. And I looked at it in an orange vest.
You know, one thing to note, Brent brought it up earlier tonight, is I'm surprised by Marathon, the amount of open enrollees they pick up. I quick looked at our numbers, we lost 2 to Marathon and we picked up 2 for Marathon. I don't see Marathon as a city in a travel corridor where it makes sense for parents. I'd like to understand what they have.
Marathon cheese would be my supposition.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times employment affects it, your alma mater
Yeah, but
affects it.
there's employment everywhere. We
Small
lost 2
town
to
quaint
Marathon and
for
we picked up
Wausau.
2 for Marathon. But nonetheless, their numbers are significantly higher than ours. It'd be good to understand some of the local districts, you know, what their puts and takes are on open enrollment. Is it curriculum, is it sports, is it just convenience?
The 3 that I've always heard, or from the parents that I talk to, job location, alma mater, and, you know, if they have a connection, you know. We get, some of our teachers that work here open enroll their kids here. I mean, you look at a number of our teachers that work here open enroll.
Sure.
And vice versa.
But the dollars they're picking up, I mean, it is a lot.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So,
And it's,
just
yeah, great.
curious. Anything else from anyone? Okay, if anyone has any items, just email Ann or Mike, or both. So with that, we'll move on to item number 17, which is movement into closed executive session. The board will go into closed executive session pursuant to section 19.851C of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of approving compensation for the 2017